Hello and welcome to another Smaulgld live stream. It is Saturday evening and it is the 8th of June 2019. And tonight's topic is a carry-on from last night. Crypto updates, India to ban cryptocurrencies, and more. Let's get right into it. There was a story yesterday. We covered it in part on a report from Bloomberg. It was a paid article, so you couldn't read the whole thing. It was behind a paywall that was saying that there was a bill pending in the Indian government that would ban cryptocurrencies and provide for a 10-year jail sentence for any type of use. And as we mentioned last night in the show, we covered this story and we mentioned some of the potential pitfalls in the story, that we didn't see the entire bill. Also, the Reserve Bank of India apparently is the only entity in the government that can actually rule on this. I'm not sure if it can be done by legislation, but not quite sure how the Indian law works there. But there's a couple of updates I want to show you on this, then we'll get into the rest of the crypto stories. By the way the program works, if any new time listeners or not Smaulgld mug stackers and game changers, this is your first time listening, it is a live chat, and if you make comments, I will see them. I don't react to comments during the presentation. We do that all at the end, so if you want your comment called out on anything in particular, type in SMAULGLD and I'll be sure to see it. Question or comment on what we're talking about. You may have to wait because the presentation may go on for half an hour or an hour before we get to it. Well, we do get to all comments that are called out specifically to Smaulgld. All right, so let's take a look at what I've learned since last night. I did manage to track down the text of the proposed bill, and I'll show you that. And that I managed to find from the author who wrote the story in Bloomberg. And let me show you what they did. They tweeted out, and this didn't get that much play. The big tweet. Got kicked off. All right, we got kicked off again. I hope we don't get kicked off one more time. Okay, so this is the guy who put out the tweet, and he shows parts of this regulation, this proposed regulation. Let me show it to you in more detail. I do have the screenshots, but there's some deficiencies here because he doesn't show the whole thing. So here is the cover, and it says Regulation Official Digital Currency Bill 2019. And the top of it says banning of cryptocurrencies end. Now, I don't know what the end is, but here's the important part of it. Just assuming that this is legislation and can be passed by the Indian Parliament or whatever they have over there, their legislative body. Well, let's look at the language. This is the only part that they give us. Whoever directly or indirectly mines, generates, holds, sells, deals, transfers, disposes of, or issues in cryptocurrency, or any combination thereof. And here's any criminal statute, you have to have some type of intent. You have to intend to break the law. You have to have the specific state of mind with the intent to use it for any of the purposes mentioned in, or directly or indirectly uses cryptocurrencies for any activities mentioned in clauses A, G, and or H, or subsection 1 of Section 8, shall be punishable with fine as may be prescribed by the central government. The first schedule or imprisonment, which will not be less than 1 year, may extend to 10 years. Let's go back. It says you have to have the intent to use it for any of the purposes mentioned in, or directly or indirectly use that cryptocurrency for any of the activities mentioned in clauses A, G, and or H of subsection 1 of Section 8. Well, we don't know what any of those activities are. It's possible that these clauses contain things like money laundering, use of cryptocurrency to shelter cash, use cryptocurrency for bribes. Who knows what it says? Because they actually have a list of certain types of activities that you have to have the intent to have used. So if it was a straight up ban, it would just say anyone who possesses cryptocurrencies. So it doesn't have it does say if you hold cryptocurrency, sell it, deal or transfer, dispose or issue it with the intent to, we don't know what those activities are. Now it's possible they could just be with the intent to sell, with the intent to use as an investment. Those could be the prohibited activities, in which case this language would amount to a ban. But we don't know what it is, and apparently it hasn't passed yet. But there's a couple of other pieces of news before we leave this Indian thing, because we're not going to settle it tonight. I think I mentioned here. Yeah, this Bloomberg exclusive didn't publish the prohibited uses in the proposed ban, so we don't know what those clauses say. And now, presumably, if this person had the draft legislation, which I just showed you, you would think, if, and I checked their Twitter feed, they haven't added it, they would have added the sections of the legislation that would make sense out of the page that they showed you. Now, my suspicion is, and this you go back to the Mueller report or whatever it is, when you redact things or you show certain things, you can create a impression by leaving out information, because if that language actually makes it not illegal just to have cryptocurrencies or to use them in the ordinary course, but makes it a punishable by 10 years to use them for illicit purposes, for buying drugs or for money laundering, well then that's not really that big of a deal. Now, the other thing that made it suspicious to me, not only did they not include that additional page, which presumably if they have those 2 pages, they should have the rest of it. This was a paid article, and meaning you only got to see the first few lines of the article unless you paid. So I'm not saying it's clickbait, but it could be. Also, the Reserve Bank of India responded to a very specific set of questions, and I have that, it'll be in the show notes tomorrow, saying that they have not I keep getting cut off here. I don't know what to do. The media, I think we're still, no, it says we're on. Yeah, we're on again. Okay. I'm just going to have to keep an eye on it and keep restarting if it keeps getting cut off. But it looks like Bloomberg created this story and didn't give it all the facts. And I think all the facts aren't there. Obviously, this has not been passed yet. As I mentioned, the central bank, the Reserve Bank of India, has stated in writing that they have no idea of what this is. They've had no participation in it whatsoever, which is odd because the Reserve Bank of India supposedly, under the laws of India, has the sole ability to regulate cryptocurrencies. Okay, and they have done so. They actually last year, around a year ago, they had stated that banks could not deal with companies that were dealing in cryptocurrency. So it's not like the Reserve Bank of India is pro cryptocurrency, but they're not leading any type of ban. Now, ZBay is a very large cryptocurrency exchange in India, and their CEO said, and I'll read you the language. It's quite interesting that he claims to have spoken with many people in the government. And here's what he said. I have talked to all the top stakeholders in the Ministry of Finance, the central bank, the securities regulator, and despite them having a certain amount of misgivings about cryptocurrencies, I've never heard them talk about banning it. So it's very interesting that the people who could ban it have never said they will ban it. That is from the CEO of ZebPay. Now, my suspicion is that a ban is very hard to enforce, and it also doesn't make a lot of sense unless it's some type of global ban where all countries are trying to ban it. Then you could say it makes sense. But when you have the ability, it's going to be very hard to track down people. There's also privacy coins. My guess was last night, and I still think this is the case, they will probably have certain types of prohibitions on cryptocurrencies and maybe even jail sentences for misuse and criminal use of cryptocurrencies. But I just don't think that they're going to want to get involved in that type of draconian chasing people down. And there's already a couple of million users of cryptocurrencies in India. It's also an issue if India wants to remain current and have the blockchain minds all together doing the innovation. Banning cryptocurrencies is going to lead to those people just leaving the country, I would imagine. But we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, enough on that. I just wanted to update you in that the story is still nebulous as to what is happening, what might happen. I'm not going to call it FUD because it looks like there is some type of draft. But again, they're leaving out the language that would help us figure out what might be going on. And of course, the central bank's dismissal of not knowing anything about it or claiming they don't know anything about it also leads me to think that any type of ban is not a blanket ban. But again, we'll have to see what we get going forward. All right, now let's talk about some adoption stories. Last night we did mention, we didn't get cut off at this point, but we got cut off soon thereafter, that Mexico's getting 8 new cryptocurrency exchanges. So again, these are legally sanctioned by Mexico. Mexico is not going to have any ban on cryptocurrencies. We mentioned also last night that in the Philippines there was a new there it is, a central bank approved cryptocurrency exchange. BitMEX Ventures invest in crypto exchange licensed by the Philippine Central Bank. So I'm not sure the Reserve Bank of India or the Indian government is going to go alone on this when its neighbors in Asia, its compatriots in the New World in Mexico are licensing this. Now, of course, Japan is a very regulated crypto area, and this is Rakuten is the Japanese Amazon, and they have a bank, they have a crypto trading platform they bought a couple of years ago. They have an e-commerce platform which they accept cryptocurrencies, and they have a social media platform. And again, in Japan, it's all regulated. They have all this going on. So India banning it is probably going to put them backwards. I'm not quite sure they would want to do that. Speaking of Rakuten, they now have a new deal out. They partner with Japanese biggest railway to promote cashless payments. And of course, that'll all go through their crypto platforms and payments and banking system. And then, of course, they're also working on wallets. It's a big deal for the company. And custody is a big deal for a lot of companies, but also just having their own wallet. And that wallet can be used, again, to buy things on their Rakuten e-commerce trading platform. And then, of course, it can be used in conjunction with their trading exchange, and the proceeds from the trading exchange can go to the bank. So it's a one-stop shop. Speaking of trading, Coinbase, Bitcoin trading hit a 14-month high in May. So we're seeing a big pickup in trading and adoption. Bitcoin futures also, CME Group, hit a record in May. So while Coinbase didn't hit a record in May, it's a 14-month high. And obviously, CME Group didn't come out until the end of 2017. So they have a shorter time period for which to hit records, but they did hit a record in May. So things are picking up in the crypto space. Other thing is tweets. I think this is kind of it's almost like Google searches. It's the same thing. How many people search for Bitcoin or Litecoin or whatever, they somehow think that helps the price or is reflective of the price or predictive of the price. Same with tweets. Bitcoin rallied in May as tweet volume hit 8-month high. It's the story in Forbes. People talking about cryptocurrency also is either indicative or predictive of the price. This was sent to me by Carl Joseph DeMarco. He is a Smaulgld mug stacker. This is Gemini. Now, Gemini is the Winklevoss twins. They run a licensed Bitcoin exchange, Litecoin exchange. They have a few coins on there, and they have a New York Bit license. And they're advertising now. You can see this crypto without chaos. This is in Union Square, DC. Big money has a future. Looks like they got George Washington there. Anyway, these big billboards have been plastered all over Union Square, if anyone's familiar with the DC metro area. All right, what else do we got? There's a big knock against Bitcoin that it's a waste of electricity, and I can understand that. And they often compare like the amount of money that is spent on Bitcoin in a given year is equivalent to the amount that a certain small country uses. That all may be true, but if you think about a market for electricity, there's certain areas in the world where electricity is plentiful and cheap with renewable sources. So there are areas where there's sunshine 15, 16 hours a day most of the year. There's areas with tremendous hydroelectric capacity. And then there's areas that it's difficult to generate electricity. And those areas have to have the electricity sent in. Anybody who lives in certain areas, you'll know on your electric bill, you'll have an electric charge, and then you may have a transportation charge, which may be almost as much as your electric charge. But what Bitcoin miners do is apparently Bitcoin mining is done 74% by sustainable methods of generating electricity. And that makes sense because they probably go to places like Iceland with geothermal, whatever the types of cheap energy are, they can place their Bitcoin mining apparatus very close to the source of the electricity. And oftentimes, like in China too, they have a lot of, the reason it's cheap in Venezuela, is that you have the ability to generate so much electricity and excess electricity that it makes sense to mine Bitcoin there. It doesn't make sense to mine Bitcoin from a New York City apartment because that's going to be very expensive. But it's interesting, they're saying studies show 74, that doesn't surprise me, but 74% of it is from sustainable forms of energy. All right, what else do we got in the adoption area? They say Apple and Microsoft are adding Bitcoin logos to their, I guess, their keyboard so people can use the B. Now, this was interesting. I'm seeing some contrasting information on what you call a transaction and usages for Bitcoin. They say there's a lot of transactions. A lot of that is just moving it back and forth amongst people's own wallets, from people's wallets to exchanges, from exchanges to exchanges. Not a lot of transactions are taking place. This particular story says 1.53% of transactions are actual payments. I tend to believe that. I actually think there is a theory on Bitcoin that in order for Bitcoin to be a currency or a medium of exchange, it first has to be a store of value. It's an interesting theory, and it makes somewhat sense that once it becomes a store of value, then people will spend it. And that I do believe. I think people will spend it as the price increases, rather than, spending it is selling it. It's the same thing as selling it for cash. You sell it for goods and services. But it seems strange that why would something become a store of value if it has no pre-existing use? So, for example, gold is a store of value before it was a medium of exchange because people treasured it, desired it for what it was, not for what it might be one day in the future. It's a shiny rock when they found it, and they beat it into a helmet or a statue or a ring, and that's what gave it value. And then they realized, we can split this into parts, make coins out of it, ingots, and we can trade them. That's classic money, store of value, and then medium of exchange. But Bitcoin, why would you store it if it has no use before you actually have it? It's just a string of digits. But I think it actually started as they did buy pizza with it early on. I think it's a very interesting dynamic. It doesn't fit the regression theory of money that somehow it was valuable before it became money. But a lot of Bitcoin people are saying it's becoming valuable as a store of value before it becomes a currency. That may turn out to be the way it works out. As I mentioned, if people hold on to Bitcoin thinking it's worth something, they will eventually spend it and use it as a medium of exchange, and then it'll follow the same route as gold if you need to have those types of analogies. I don't necessarily need those analogies, but that's what we have. Yeah, and I've been calling Bitcoin a spendable, tradable asset. I think that's what it is. It's not really a currency, especially if people are just holding it. Currency is used. Currency is big as... Janet Yellen said once that the dollar's not a good store of value. She's the steward of the dollar, the former federal chair of the Federal Reserve, and she's right. The U.S. dollar is a currency. It's used as a medium of exchange. The treasuries, you could say, are a store of value because they pay a rate of interest. Most governmental bonds are not a store of value if they have negative rates. But let's move on, see if there's any other adoption stories we need to cover. I'm going to have to cut it a bit short because we've got to get through all the stories for the last 8 or 10 days. And then tonight we have to do Saturday Night Silver with Smaulgld. What's this on? We're going to talk about Facebook as well. Yeah, we're going to discuss that in a bit. All right, let's move on from adoption and take a look now at, why don't we break it up and do a little crypto moronica. Uh-oh, we got a moron here.
Presenting the distinguished international news commentator and foreign correspondent.
This has been an extraordinary week in world affairs.
No, I told Hillary Clinton that that's moronic.
Uh-oh, we got a moron here. Yeah, I think this is pretty moronic. I mean, Warren Buffett, I know he does this thing, have lunch with him, and though they donate the money to charity. If I had $4.5 million lying around and I wanted to donate to charity, I would skip the lunch with Warren Buffett for sure. But Justin Sun, crypto pioneer. Now, he is the founder of Tron. He thought it would be a good idea to blow some of his pre-mined profits of Tron and have a lunch with Warren Buffett. You guys let me know what you think about that. While we're talking about moronica, I think this gold marketing has gotten out of hand. I think that the grayscale drop gold has put a thorn in the side of the shift gold and gold money people. And I think it's a mistake. I don't think the way to sell gold is to bash Bitcoin. Maybe the way to sell Bitcoin is to bash gold. I don't think it is, but that's what Barry Silbert and Grayscale decided to do. But interestingly enough, I mean, Peter Schiff supposedly, and I did watch the debate at Grayscale with Barry Silbert, and he said basically that millennials are young and dumb and they don't know any better, and eventually they're going to buy gold. Okay, well, that's not really a good sales pitch for your customers. But Jeffrey Tucker, who is one of his buddies, I guess he used to be part of the Mises Institute. I'll leave a link to this on Let's Talk Bitcoin episode 374. I heard him say it. He says that they were having some discussion, Peter Schiff and Jeffrey Tucker. And after the discussion, Peter Schiff was asking him, telling him that he owns like 5 or 6 different cryptocurrencies and a Jax wallet, and what other cryptocurrencies should he buy. Someone's lying. Either it's Peter Schiff or Jeffrey Tucker. But you can listen to that. I find that amusing that Peter Schiff uses. The shtick is bash Bitcoin to sell gold. I don't know if that's very effective. Remember, Gold Money had the last advertisement they did was saying that if you dropped gold, which is funny, drop gold, right? Airdrop gold into an Amazon village, assuming that they're thinking it's backwards and is cut off from the rest of the world, that the natives would inherently understand that it was valuable. Again, I don't think that's a way of selling gold. That, it's like saying, I think Roger, Smaulgld mug stacker and counterfeiter on this channel, said that that's like when the baby likes the box rather than the valuable prize on the inside. What a tribe might look and what attraction they might have to gold doesn't give it any value. And I think that's just bad marketing. And again, I think it appeals to those with gold derangement syndrome, where you just think everything is gold and everyone's going to worship it. But the most recent Gold Money advertisement, I think, is even more ridiculous. So the Grayscale And Drop Gold is saying that gold is heavy and you got to lug it around. And okay, so Roy C. Bag, whatever his name is, illustrates the natural properties of gold and Bitcoin. Bitcoin has no weight. False. And then they're trying to show you that in order to generate Bitcoin, there's all these servers and computers. I mean, this is moronic. I'm sorry. This is just stupidity. And so now you're not supposed to like Bitcoin because people don't know it works on computers. But this is the level that they're at. Bitcoin is heavy. I mean, that's their thing because of servers. And then CoinDesk mentions the co-founder of Gold Money is upset that Grayscale compared gold unfavorable to cryptocurrencies. Okay, because of the Drop Gold, because it's heavy. And he's like, no, but Bitcoin's heavy too because of servers. I mean, that's not going to make anyone not like Bitcoin, and it's not going to make anybody like gold. So I asked these people, is Gold Money in the business of selling gold or bashing Bitcoin? I don't get it. I don't see how that helps Gold Money to come up with foolishness about dropping gold into Amazon villages and why Bitcoin is heavier than gold because it uses heavy servers. I mean, it's just plain moronica. I mean, my point is, any crypto bug, think about it. There are out there that are looking to buy gold. They're going to look elsewhere. They're not going to want to hear that Bitcoin is bad and that they have Bitcoin. They want to sell it. I mean, I think it's bad marketing. I think it's moronic to bash Bitcoin. But here's something that's very interesting from Rosie Seabag, or whatever his name is, Roy Seabag. It always looks like Rosie Bag. Okay. If you remember, Gold Money jumped on the Bitcoin wagon at the end of 2017. They started selling Bitcoin. It's storing. I thought it was a good idea. It was a great service. Well, I mean, what kind of business does this? And then they canceled it earlier this year. They were not doing it anymore, which I don't know why. They were probably making money off it. But listen to what he says back in December of 2017. While it's personally, intellectually displeasing, it's becoming clear that since Gold Money launched crypto, only Bitcoin so far, our net Bitcoin sales per day have grown to become bigger than precious metals. More than silver and gold combined, and platinum and palladium. We're seeing nearly 500,000 a day of net crypto accumulation. Now, think about that. You're running a business. And your business is to, at least the way I look at it, is to make money. It's personally, intellectually displeasing. But when you're running a public company, no one cares about your intellect. They don't care how smart you are or what your preconceived notions are. Public company wants to know, can you drive more revenues? Can you sell more stuff? And wow, you're selling more Bitcoin than gold. Well, if it was up to me, I'd focus more on Bitcoin. I wouldn't be bashing gold. Well, anyway, because they're all, I guess, over there, you got Peter Schiff and James Turk. I guess if they really love they really love gold, they're on some type of mission to promote gold. But that's not how you promote gold, by bashing Bitcoin. Anyway, I'll leave them to their business. I just think it's moronic to bash Bitcoin, having once sold Bitcoin and sold a lot of it, and then to dump it because it was intellectually displeasing. They never really gave a reason, but this might give you some insight that I guess if you have gold derangement syndrome, you don't care if you can make more money doing something else. You're there for the cause, I suppose. And on this channel, I don't care. I don't believe in asset adoration. I think that's moronic. I think I love Litecoin, I love Bitcoin. Bitcoin's going to change the world. Silver is better than gold. I don't get into that. I analyze. It's funny. People get furious. They get mad. Why are you bashing on silver? Like you insulted their mother or their dog or something very dear to them. It's like, it's silver. It's nothing special. It's an asset. It's a nice guy. But it has special properties. And the Romans used to use it. Okay. I just don't get that excited about it. All right. And I don't get excited about any asset like that. They're assets. They all have pluses and minuses. Well, let's talk quickly about Facebook coin, because this is where a lot of people have a lot of different ideas about it. This is the so-called, they want to call it a global coin. They want it to be a global payment system. I got problems with it just because Facebook is known not to be a good keeper of privacy. They're known to boot people off of platforms. I mean, I wouldn't want my money with them. I wouldn't want them knowing what I'm spending. I wouldn't want them saying we don't want Smaulgld's transactions anymore, so we're just going to cut his wallet off. We're going to shut him down. I just don't see why anyone would buy a Facebook stable coin. I don't see why you would buy any company's coin, any other than a company. See, Amazon coin makes more sense because if you can use it on the Amazon platform and they give you, so for example, if Amazon were to come out with a coin to use on their Amazon platform and they say, look, we're going to discount you a couple of percent because we don't have to use credit card fees and everything happens right away, I could see putting a couple $100 in reserve in an Amazon account, an Amazon coin, but just to spend at Amazon, not to use day to day. I'd rather just have the dollars or the cash to spend. I don't know why I need a Zuckerberg coin here. But the interesting thing is now how they're going to set this up. I don't know how they're going to launch this in next year. It's pretty hard to do this because remember, for a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, it's the transactions get verified and there's mining, there's different nodes. They're saying now that they're going to have something like independent people are going to invest and they're going to like become partners with Facebook coin. Sounds very centralized. They're going to charge, you can buy a node to operate it for $10 million. And I mean, how many of these nodes are they going to need? How many people are going to be willing to invest? And then if they build it, will anyone come and bother? I was always, if you remember, and I'm not atypical on this, a lot of people looked at Bitcoin, putting aside the fact they said, well, it's nothing. It's nothing. I don't like it. I only want my money back. Okay, put that aside. What got me to give Bitcoin a second look was realize that, first of all, how I view things is not how the world views them. But what really changed my mind and made me give Bitcoin a more serious look was when India decided just going to demonetize its currency. Now, the rupee, like all fiat currencies in the world today, are unbacked. That's their fiat to the extent that the government says they have value because they say they have value. And I always thought during 2013, 14, 15, 16, what are you going to do with why would I need Bitcoin? If I have a credit card, if I have a debit card, if I've got cash, I have a checkbook, I don't need Bitcoin to buy anything, and most places don't accept it. So why would I exchange my fiat for Bitcoin? Just didn't make any sense to me. And when India demonetized their money nationwide overnight, I realized, oh, actually, you don't necessarily have cash. You could say, well, I don't keep my money in the bank. I keep $1,000 always stacked or whatever it is. Well, even there, so with your money in the bank, they can seize your bank account. They can make an error. They can withdraw your money. They can put your money on hold. They can do a lot of stuff. And you say, well, I'll just take the cash out. Well, they don't let you take a certain amount of cash out. And they can say that if you hold cash, certain amount of cash, certain amount of notes, that those notes are no longer valid, like India did. Then I said to myself, well, wait a minute. The advantage that cryptocurrency, or at least Bitcoin, has over even the dollar is no one can recall it. There's no one who can say you can't have it. They can't take it from you. Someone can steal it from you, but no one can, by fiat, just tell you that money, that Bitcoin is not worth anything. They could try to ban it, which might make it worth less, but they can't just come and take it. They can't say you can't have it, and they can't just say it's not worth anything anymore. And that's what started me looking at cryptocurrencies more seriously. And then, of course, seeing that other people were taking them seriously made me realize that if there's enough people out there that think it has value, it doesn't matter that I think it's stupid and it's worthless and it has no value. It actually does have value, and it can be converted into fiat. The problem with this Facebook coin is it's a private company. You can get the whole they can do what they want nonsense, and you got $500 in Facebook coin, and then poof, you don't because they say you don't because you offended their terms of service. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to get this off the ground, why they would do it, but they claim they have 100 people working on 100 employees. So this is a big deal. CNBC has collected public details on high-level executives for Facebook's cryptocurrency project via LinkedIn. So over 100 staff working on this. I mean, this is a hairball. I don't know if they have the wherewithal to pull this off, but so I did a poll. if you hold Bitcoin, would you buy Facebook coin? And the Bitcoin holder said, no, I wouldn't buy it. I don't know what the point of having it is. For 2% discount and they can steal it from you, or it could get hacked, or it's just not worth it to me. And I don't know. I was talking to someone tonight. They were saying, most of Facebook people who still use Facebook, they are older boomers or older. They're not going to buy. They're at the stage of life where they're going to buy a cryptocurrency for. It's not going to buy Bitcoin, the Facebook coin. What would they buy it for? Well, they might think, oh, this is how I get into cryptocurrencies and buying Facebook coin. I don't know. But they're saying is that it's going to be a stable coin based on a basket of fiat currency. So it's not going to be based on a dollar. This is truly a global coin. This, to me, is the Facebook SDR. I mean, if they put the yen, they just put all the SDR. You put in the SDR basket currencies. You put in the yen, you put in the euro, you put in the dollar, you put in the British pound, and the Chinese yuan, you've got yourself an SDR. And instead of backing it and issuing SDR certificates the way the IMF does to the central banks, it's not a circulating retail currency, the Facebook SDR. So there's your global currency. There's your cover of the Economist from 30 years ago, the global coin, and it could be, Facebook executive told the German magazine it's going to be a stable coin tied to a basket of currencies. So concept is kind of nice. But again, as an American, why would you want your coinage, your cryptocurrency, not a stable dollar coin? What do you care about how it's tied to the yen and to the yuan and to the euro and to the British pound? Doesn't make much sense. So this may be a thing where they build it and no one comes, and this is a big waste of money. But I could be wrong. I predict stuff. I just don't think it's going to have much traction. I think the JP Morgan coin has a much bigger chance of doing well because there is a efficiency in having that coin. You trade with JP Morgan, you want to settle your trades, you trust JP Morgan. JP Morgan's got a big cash position. They back their stable coin with the cash. You figure that's as good as cash, so you allow them to settle your trades. They settle faster because you trade them directly into the coin, and then when you want to put your position back up, whatever you're doing with JP Morgan, you want to buy more Apple stock or more bonds, you just sell the stable coin. So I can see that working. I don't see why you'd want that for anything else. But I guess JP Morgan, if that works, and people trust them, that there's a one-to-one correspondence to dollars, and let's say you have a JP Morgan account. I think JP Morgan is Chase. Yeah, JP Morgan Chase. They can issue a debit card, so when you sell your stocks or bonds, whatever you do with JP Morgan, the money can go into your JP Morgan account, and you can flip it into a stable coin, the JP Morgan stable coin. You can spend it. Okay, that makes sense to me. Facebook, there's no reason to have a Facebook coin because Facebook doesn't sell anything. And again, I don't know. We haven't heard of JP Morgan shutting people. Although maybe they do. Maybe they do shut people's bank accounts. I don't know. I don't like the idea of it could be a government or a company can shut your money down. And that to me is the only real advantage to, not the only advantage, but a very big advantage to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. They are what they call permissionless, in that there's no central authority that can change the value unilaterally. They can shut you off. They can't do that because there is no Bitcoin corporation or Bitcoin government that can do that. So that's what's going on with the Facebook coin. Now, an investment, we always say there's a lot of investment in the space. I just mentioned a couple. Kleiner Perkins is going to invest in an EOS style blockchain-based gaming startup. Just shows what I think is going to happen this year or maybe next year. Companies like Coinbase and other blockchain companies are going to go public. They're going to be the new Uber, the new Lyft, the new Snapchat. That's what Wall Street's going to pump. They're going to pump cryptocurrencies and crypto style IPOs. I think that's what's coming. Coinbase will go IPO. Now we have to talk quickly about Litecoin because Litecoin is being pumped by all of the major exchanges now. They're making a big deal out of this halving coming up. For those of you who don't understand what the halving is, the cryptocurrencies have built into their schedules a certain amount of coins that each block you get a reward if you mine it. And over time, I think it's every 4 years, they cut in half the amount of reward that you get. Now that all works fine, and it's preconditioned that the price is going to be going higher, so the mining will get harder, and you'll get half the coins for each block that you mine. But if the coin is priced twice as high as it was during the period of time before the halving happened, you're not harmed at all. But what it also does, and it could also be incentive, even though you get a halving, if the price triples, you're still doing better off, even if it's halved. But that secures the network better. But also, it highlights these next halvings coming up, Litecoin and Bitcoin, is that Bitcoin is almost done issuing new coins. I mean, Bitcoin, there's 21 million to be mined. They're at like 17.7 already mined. So when you start cutting back how many coins in half to be mined, there's not going to be a lot of new coins coming on the market, which means, and we did a show on this, it was called, I forgot what it's called. It's featured on the Smaulgld front page for YouTube about what it means. Oh, it's the stock flow ratio, meaning that because you have limited supply in general, but that supply gets smaller and smaller, the new coins coming on market, the newly mined coins become smaller and smaller as you go on, and presumably the longer a coin is out there, the more demand it has. It really does create a bottleneck on supply and demand. Demand is increasing while supply is decreasing, and decreasing by half. Whereas with gold mining, we discussed, gold mining is a nice money because the price goes higher. There's a limited amount of gold, but the way the earth is set up, there's always gold somewhere. It just costs more to get it. So if the price keeps rising and rising, because gold also has a jewelry component, demand will go down on the jewelry side. People will stop buying the jewelry, but there may be an increased monetary investment demand, but no problem. Then the miners can not necessarily shift on a dime, but they can shift and say, okay, we're going to mine this at $1,300 an ounce, $1,400 an ounce, because the demand is there. It all kind of balances out. With Bitcoin, it's not going to balance that. If the demand increases, there's nothing the miners can do. All they can do is mine what they get. They're going to get half the number of Bitcoin. And that's why there's all these crazy predictions for Bitcoin, is that if Bitcoin actually creates a greater demand, the supply is not going to increase. There's nothing they can do. They can't even speed up the increase. It's all factored into, it's all set up on a schedule. So that's where gold is definitely different than Bitcoin. Gold is actually, for monetary policy, gold is pretty cool because it's natural and it balances it out because it also has that jewelry component. But Litecoin, as I mentioned, is the hash rate is moving up. There's a lot of interest in the coin. It's the number one performing coin, I think, other than maybe some minor coin, but it's outperformed the Bitcoin 2-to-1. It's essentially a clone of Bitcoin. It's the same technology behind it. It uses a different type of cryptography, but other than that, it's pretty much the same. And you're seeing a lot of pumping. As I mentioned, we saw OKEX doing promotions on Twitter. Here you got on Yahoo, how to buy Litecoin in Yahoo. I mean, like you need to know that. Here's OKEX. OKEX give away 65,000 euro worth bonus in celebration of Litecoin halving. So they really are pumping this. I saw another, I think Binance was doing the same. Do I have it on here? I can't find it. And you got your celebrities promoting Litecoin. Ben Askren, he's saying Bitcoin and Litecoin, duh. He is a UFC fighter. Now this guy, I don't know him, but apparently he's famous. Where my Litecoin at, he says. His name is Anthony Mackie. He's one of these silly videos about what he does in his day. And he says, he's from Captain America. He wakes up and he says, where's my Litecoin at? Then he checks his Litecoin and he says, Litecoin forever. I don't trust Bitcoin. Doesn't elaborate, but you don't have to. You're a celebrity. You just babble and people listen to you. Got your Litecoin Summit coming up. Got Naomi Brockwell. Super excited. So they're going to have Pumpliano is going to be there. He's a big Bitcoin fan on Twitter. And, of course, Charlie Lee is going to be there. Charlie Lee met with Andrew Yang the other day, who praised him. I don't have the snapshot of that. But and then they're noting that Litecoin is soaring, 18% high. I mean, it's like at $118, $120 at the moment. Remember, in December, it was $22. So it's up $100. I mean, it's a very big rise, I might say. And they're pumping it. What's this pump here? This is just news. Up 10% higher. 20% higher, 30% higher. Now this article, Litecoin, $200 in 60 days, going to go there. And that's when the halving. The halving will be in 60 days. And it's not just moving up to the halving, but then once the halving actually takes place, now on the day-to-day basis, less coins will be coming out and will be made available. So they say if the demand increases while the supply decreases, that's why prices rise. Now remember, it's not a guarantee because a lot of Litecoin ownership, just like Bitcoin ownership, is held in the hands of people who own more coins than are left to be mined. Think about it. So there are whales that have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin or Litecoin, and with the amount that's left to mine in a given year, I think they were saying there's something like 50,000, 60,000 a month maybe Bitcoin might be mined, and that'll get cut in half to like 25,000. Well, that's not the total supply. That's just the total newly minted supply. Whales have more than that. You know, if they have hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, they can dump 25,000 if they wanted to add liquidity to the market, just to mess with people or just to cash out. So it's not like there's, oh my goodness, there's only 2 or 3 million Bitcoin left to mine and fewer are coming out. There's an element of that, but there's still Bitcoin that's pre-owned that can be brought to market. That's the secondary supply. Now that's an exact opposite of, in many cases, like for example in India, secondary silver and gold supply is usually under 10%. The amount of demand that gets met in the Indian market by people rummaging through their drawers to find silverware or gold coins or bars is far less than the enormous amounts that they import, newly mined or newly recast and sent to India. But with Bitcoin, that is the secondary supply going forward is really the main supply, and the newly mined stuff is very small. All right, let's see if we got anything else. Yeah, we do. We got a couple of quick things on price. You got these foolish Bitcoin 25,000. I just throw them out there. They're out there all the time, these predictions. And they give reasons. They were saying this in 2018 too. It didn't happen. June is a good month. I mean, there's not enough history to say this stuff, but they say it anyway. That's in Forbes. What else do we have here? Now, they are talking about the halving, which is interesting. Multi-billion-dollar crypto manager sees next halving triggering Bitcoin price boom. Yes, so they're all... And it makes sense. I mean, absent whales dumping and demand increasing, supply is going to be decreasing. But keep an eye out on for pre-existing, pre-mined, or already mined, not pre-mined, but they've been mined Bitcoin coming to market. You know, they're talking about only 3 months. Well, this is interesting. There's only 3 months that exist when buying Bitcoin resulted in losing money. So the current prices, unless you bought in, I think it's November, December 2017, and January 2018, any Bitcoin bought before then or since then, you've made money, which is interesting. So they like to say everybody lost money as if everybody bought everything at $20,000. There's another story on the halving. Now, this Grayscale guy, this is the guy who runs Barry Silbert. Many investors are not aware of the Bitcoin block reward halving. Well, it's next year. the exchanges are making everyone aware of the Litecoin halving. I guess maybe not a lot of people. I don't know. It's hard to say what are a lot of people. Who are a lot of people? Are the people that matter? I mean, if you don't own Bitcoin, you don't follow this stuff, of course you don't know the halving is happening. Well, why would you? But he's saying it remains a key factor for the price and it's not completely priced in. Yeah, okay. It's a bit of a pump if you ask me. But the Litecoin one is coming up, and I think it is priced in. There's no reason for Litecoin to be moving much faster and higher than Bitcoin because objectively, Bitcoin is the better and more secure coin than Litecoin. So Litecoin is moving up because it's more speculative and it's got its halving come up. So its supply is going to be cut in half before Bitcoin's. All right, let's take a quick look at a couple of other bits of regulation before we take your questions and comments. SEC chairman, we mentioned this, I think it was 2-3 nights ago, that they're still looking for market surveillance agreements and no manipulation on the markets in Bitcoin and better custody arrangements before they approve a Bitcoin ETF. We'll just see what that happens there. I don't know if that's going to happen. Malaysia, though, improved a crypto exchange. So just this week, we saw new exchanges being approved in the Philippines and Mexico, and here's the one in Malaysia. Malaysia is very strict. Strict Malaysian regulator approves 3 crypto exchanges. So the idea that India is going to ban anything, it sounds foolhardy. Now, here's another one. I mentioned the other night that France has regulations in place that prohibit banks from not providing access to crypto companies. Same in Israel. Crypto exchange Bits of Gold wins Supreme Court battle. Cryptocurrency exchange Bits of Gold has won a notable legal victory over an Israeli bank in his bid to keep access to banking services. So the trend is going the other way. It's going towards integrating crypto businesses, cryptocurrencies into the payment system, into the financial systems, into the banking systems. For India just to say, well, in our country, everything's going to be banned, I'm not sure that's going to work out very well for them. It's not smart. Actually, throwing baby out with the bathwater bans are generally inefficient and they're hard to enforce. You're much better off corralling everyone, putting everyone under one tent, and having an insight and seeing what's going on in this market that you don't like, gaining market awareness. Because when you ban stuff, you end up not knowing what's going on in the market. You don't know if you're arresting the tip of the iceberg or you're arresting everyone. But if you regulate and you put everything under, for example, you can have something like they have in the United States, FACTA. India could require everyone to disclose their crypto positions. Now, that doesn't mean everybody will, but if there's penalties for not disclosing, then most people will. Now, you're not going to get 100% compliance at everything, but if you get 95% compliance, well, you kind of know who has what and why they have it, and you don't really need to do anything. You have good information now. You know what people have, and now you can focus your resources, because they're limited even with governments, on tracking down illegal activity, money laundering, and the like. But just to track everyone down who's not doing anything wrong, just to try to find the bad actors, that's inefficient. CFTC, now this is the guy, Giancarlo, and he helped approve he was at the CFTC. They deemed Bitcoin as a commodity that enabled the CME group to launch their Bitcoin future. So he's very supportive of cryptocurrencies, and apparently the new guy is too. But that's crypto dad Giancarlo. He's stepping down. eToro, we talked about custody, and custody is big business now. And again, that's why Wall Street wants it. Fidelity has it. eToro custodial services, 13% surge in Bitcoin. So this is in a UK-based asset brokerage company, and that company saying their custodial services are rising very fast. And again, there's money to be made by regulators in charging licensing fees, review fees, and there's money to be made by the companies that register all this stuff and get engaged in this business, operate trading platforms, operate custodial facilities. There's just a lot of money in it, and there's no reason, if they can work with the regulators to be comfortable, that they wouldn't do it. Just banning it means the opportunity for everyone is gone. Then you say, well, we eliminate the bad actors. Well, actually, you don't. Because if you were to ban Bitcoin, most likely the only people to use it would be criminals. But they're going to use it anyway. So the people who would use it for non-criminal activity, that's profitable for everyone. That means a non-criminal who's involved with cryptocurrency is going to pay their taxes, is going to create economic wealth on the price appreciation, going to create economic wealth in trading fees and storage fees and wallet fees, lending fees, all the things that banks and companies do. It's going to create revenue for merchants when that person sells them. It's going to create tax revenue for the government because the merchants are going to make more money when they sell incremental products to crypto holders. Economically, it's just foolish to ban it. Now, some people say, well, it's a threat to the dollar. Not if you regulate it, it's not. It just becomes another asset that's in the system that's accumulating, appreciating in value. It's no different than Apple stock is not a threat to the dollar. Now, maybe in India, I still think it's foolish to, if they think it through, there's more opportunity for a government to regulate cryptocurrency than there is for it to ban it. But they have to do their SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. But I think if you do it and if you're not looking at it with a preconceived notion that it's dangerous, I think they'll realize that there's more opportunity. And especially if you get your regulatory ducks in order. Here's more about just security. Ethereum startup team to offer banking grade wallet security. I mean, there's a lot of innovation, a lot of money going into this. So I don't think they want to shut all this down. All right, but before we shut down tonight, remember, stay with us around in half an hour. We're going to do Saturday Night Silver with Smaulgld, and we're going to talk about silver in different currencies. We're going to take a look at the commitment of traders. We're going to take a look at the silver in the COMEX vault. We can only do about 15 minutes in comments right now because I got to prepare. Not that I have to prepare, I just have to put up the notice for the silver show. So we could probably go right up almost to 7 o'clock. All right, let's see if we got any questions here. Jack says, Smaulgld, crypto zombie said this was fake news. The Indian government had no knowledge of banning crypto. It wasn't the Indian government that had no knowledge, Jack. It was the Reserve Bank of India. That doesn't mean that the legislative body wasn't doing something. Yeah, I know what to believe. I think I've patched it together. There is a bill pending. It seems to ban and provide criminal penalties for certain uses of or holding or selling or Bitcoin, or cryptocurrencies, but it doesn't say what those reasons, what those activities are. So that we don't know. We also don't know whether they actually can do that without the permission of the Central Bank of India. So it's in flux right now. AUAG says hello from Denmark. Okay, good evening. No gold, no wedding. That's correct. That's what they say in India. Jack, thanks for clarifying. Smaulgld, it's what the media doesn't tell you what is truly important. Chuck and Plata is here. Hello, Chuck. I'm not reading your comment, just scrolling through. D. Chiron is here. All right. Well, that's about it there. The only questions. Am I looking at top comments? No, that's all comments. All right. So come back in a half an hour, and we're going to go through a lot of silver information, a lot of charts prepared for. This says, Lewis are not in desired end results, are not cryptos and PMs on the same team, says Chuck and Plata. I would think so. In fact, again, if I was gold money, it was a smart thing they started selling cryptocurrencies, I wouldn't bash either of them. I'd be promoting the heck out of gold money, silver money, Bitcoin money on the same platform. Now, I know there's certain people that are purists. Oh, it's crap. Oh, I shouldn't be intellectual. I don't always talk about when he says things like it's intellectually displeasing that people are buying from us more Bitcoin than they're buying gold. I mean, that's exactly what you want your business to be, is a feeder. They couldn't have sold that Bitcoin unless they had a good gold business. I mean, if it turns out, I'm not predicting this, but if it turns out that gold is or horses and Bitcoins are cars, you want to be the what is that guy called? The guy who runs the horses. Who are the people that make the horseshoes? Not locksmiths. They're called anyway. If you are the, why can't I think of that word? If you are the people that make horse and buggies, and you're lucky enough to have a business that can convert into cars, well, then that's the best thing you can possibly do. You don't want to be saying, "Oh, it really sucks that people are buying more cars from us than horse and buggies." No, that's a good thing. You're unique, because a lot of gold sellers, if it turns out that Bitcoin is the new gold, they're going to be out. They won't have a way of transitioning, and they're just going to go by the wayside. But if you are in the position like gold money, where they're not anymore, where they were able to sell more Bitcoin than gold, I try to sell as much gold and Bitcoin as I possibly could. Now, what are the people? They're called some blacksmiths. There you go, blacksmith. So if you're a blacksmith that doesn't make the transition to cars, well, then you're out of work. But if you're a blacksmith who can take your carriage manufacturing business and turn it into car chassis, and during the transition period sell boatloads or carloads of car chassis and horse buggies, you're golden, so to speak. All right, everyone. Unless I got any more questions or comment, blacksmith, thanks, DJ. We're going to say goodnight, Bernie. So Bernie's going to give you the 10-second countdown, and we'll see in about a half an hour. Bernie, have at it.
Well, Donald Trump is the worst president.
Bernie, the countdown.
Yeah, but the thing about Donald Trump was he was playing games with the Mexicans.
Bernie, I want the countdown.
All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1%, 0. Have a good night.
Thank you, Bernie, and have a good night. We'll see you guys in half an hour.